Ascent. I'm Molly Carmel, and this is the podcast I always wish existed. A bite-sized, on-the-ground spiritual note that can shift your thinking and your outlook on life to help make us all a little bit more awake, alive, and ascending. So today I want to talk about a voice memo my friend sent me during this very intense astrological season and why I just couldn't sugarcoat my answer. So if you follow astrology at all, and I do, it's been a very wild ride lately. We have this Saturn Neptune transit, we have that Chinese New Year, we have Ramadan. That Chinese New Year went from the snake to the horse. We have some new moons. We're in eclipse season. It's busy. It's busy. And listen, whether you buy into all of that or not is totally fine. This is hardly even what this podcast is about today. So stay listening, because we can agree to disagree on all of it. Love you no matter what. But if you are someone who has been paying attention to these cycles and it matters to you, you know there's been just a lot of movement. And I have this really good friend, Sarah, and she's very, very into it. And she had gotten some information and sort of had been convinced that with this new transit and with the new year and all of it, so many things were going to be shifting in her life. Like with the year of the snake moving into the year of the horse, she felt like she was just shedding so many things in her old life and just walking into a new one. And I don't know, maybe that's true. Who am I to say it's not, right? And at the very least, it's true to her. And if she believes that, it becomes even more true, right? But as all of these transits were happening, she sent me a voice memo. And she sounded really overwhelmed in this voice memo. And she was like, "Oh my God, Molly, when is it going to stop shedding? When is it going to stop changing? When is this going to stop?" And it was real. She was experiencing a loss of friends, a loss of clients. Things were really falling away that she thought were solid. And it just felt like too much to her. But you all know me pretty well. I'm not one to sugarcoat things. And so I sent her a voice memo back. And I said, "Never." Want to know when the shedding stops? If we're doing it right? Never. It never stops. Change is the only constant that we have. It's literally the only constant. And change is actually the essence of spirituality. And I didn't get a voice memo back for a while because I don't think that that's what she wanted to hear. I feel like she wanted me to say hang in there, it'll calm down after the eclipse. But I love her too much to not tell her the truth. I mean, she asked me a question, I'll give her an answer. And here's the thing, Ascenders. If we're looking for the change to stop, we're going to be living really, really miserable lives. Not because that's a punishment, because we're fighting the one thing that's guaranteed. Change is the only constant. Change is the process, right? And our pocket sage today is just such a darling. Such a darling. I can't even believe we're 85 episodes in and I haven't brought him to you. Apologies in advance. So today's pocket sage is Richard Rohr. Richard Rohr and his book Falling Upward, which is so good. He's like a friar and just amazing spiritual teacher. I love him. I love him. I love him. And his work is just all about the spiritual journey requiring us to let go of who we think we are in order to become who we're actually meant to be. I mean, that's real spirituality. So he writes, "The human ego prefers anything, just about anything, to failing or changing or dying. The ego is that part of you that loves the status quo, even when it's not working. It attaches to the past and present, and it fears the future. Yes, transformation is often more about unlearning than learning. We do not think ourselves into new ways of living. We live ourselves into new ways of thinking." I mean, apologies. I know. You're like, "Molly, where has this man been our whole life?" Oh, many, many books. So head on over. So let me read that again for those of you in the back. The human ego prefers anything, just about anything, to failing or changing or dying. The ego is that part of you that loves the status quo, even when it's not working. It attaches to past and present and fears the future. Yes, transformation is often more about unlearning than learning. We do not think ourselves into new ways of living. We live ourselves into new ways of thinking. And so our word of the day today is becoming. Isn't that a great word? I'm really into it. Because becoming is a word that has no finish line. Like it doesn't end. We don't arrive at became, right? And we stay there. We're always becoming. We're always in motion, always shedding one version of ourselves to make room for whatever's next. And we love the idea of becoming when it sounds aspirational, right? Like I'm becoming my very best self, right? But we hate it when becoming actually shows up because becoming requires losing. It requires shedding. It requires letting go of people, of identities, habits, beliefs, these things that no longer fit the person that we're growing into, right? That we're becoming. And the thing about becoming is like, it's not a destination. It's this permanent state of being alive. And the sooner that we can make peace with that, the less we're going to have to suffer. And so here's what I think we're getting wrong about change. By the way, I'm right there with you. We treat it like it's a season, right? Like something that has a start date and an end date. We think like, okay, I'm in a season of change right now. And once it's over, things will settle down and I'll finally feel stable. But that's like not how it works, especially if you're committed to a spiritual life, especially if you want to be awake, alive, and ascending. If that's your goal, and I hope it is, not just for you, but for the larger world, the change doesn't stop. The shedding doesn't stop. That becoming doesn't stop. And not because something's wrong, actually, something's right, right? That is the spiritual path. Think about nature, right? A snake sheds its skin because it's growing. If it stopped shedding, it would die. The shedding isn't a problem. It's actually proof of life. It's proof that something new is happening underneath. And listen, my friend was losing friends and clients and employees and parts of her life that she thought were really permanent. And her instinct, which is all of our instincts, was to panic, to want it to stop, to beg the universe for a break. And boy, do I get that. I really get that, man. I fight change all the time too, because it's exhausting. It really can be, especially when it comes in tsunami like waves, right? And especially when it feels like you can't catch your breath between one loss and the next. But delightful Richard Rohr is really pointing to something. Our ego wants stability. And when I say ego, I mean that part of your brain that's running the show most of the time, the part that wants to be right and safe and needs to know with complete certainty what's coming next. That ego wants to arrive somewhere and park and just be there, right? But our soul wants to keep moving. It needs to keep moving. And the soul knows that the shedding is the point, not the obstacle. So the question isn't like, when is this change going to stop? The question is, can I learn to be in motion without panicking? Sometimes we can and sometimes we can't, right? Just FYI. But the people that I really admire the most, the ones who seem the most spiritually grounded, the most peaceful, the most alive, they're not people who have figured out how to stop change. They're people who have stopped fighting change. They've just made peace with impermanence and learned to trust that what falls away was supposed to fall away and what's coming is coming, whether or not they're gripped on tightly. And I don't think that my friend needed the shedding to stop. I think she needed to know that she could survive it and even thrive it, right? I think she needed to hear that change isn't a sign that something's going wrong, especially when it hurts, and it does hurt. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything falls apart so we can fall into place. Like, that's crazy. It's a crazy spiritual bypass. Sometimes it falls apart and it's just really, really hard and awful. But you can be in the hard and still be okay. That's the point, right? You can grieve what's leaving and still trust that you're going to make it through. I believe that with all of my heart and soul, Ascenders. So, our reflective question of the day: what are you waiting to stop changing that might actually be trying to transform you? And I am right here with you, Ascenders. I too am learning to trust the shedding instead of fighting it. And listen, if this episode resonated with you, oh, pretty please, can you send it to someone who's in the middle of their own shedding season? I am obsessed with growing our ascending crew. And until next time, we rise together. Love you the most.